From the NewsTalkSTL studios in St. Louis, it's the Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter. On tonight's episode, corruption concerns in Hawaii with Lorinc, teaching men to be men with Elliot Katz, and the Right Mind studio band Mitch Murphy and the Murphy Tones. Now, putting the fun in your dysfunctional world, here's your host, Todd Schowalter.
I tell you, Joey, you can feel it, can't you? It's like fall is in the air, isn't
It's
it?
fall, y'all.
Fall, y'all.
Oh,
Yeah,
I love that
Tim
saying.
Says that. Yeah. Do you like fall? What's your? Hey, you know what? What is your favorite season?
My favorite season is the one where it's not dark anymore when I get off work.
Yeah.
I get off work at 6, and I like to go on a long run or jog with my lady.
Sure.
And if it's dark out at Forest Park, I get spooked out because of the naked guys hiding up in the trees.
Do you ever run with a purse? It's a lot of fun. Try it.
I literally use a fanny pack every day when I run. It's a runner's fanny pack. It's slim. It doesn't bump too much on my butt when I use it.
Boy, I'm excited. Ask me what I'm excited about.
It better be on theme with Halloween and fall because that's how we started the show.
Well, yeah.
People have complained that we get all over the place, and if we don't have good
Who
segues,
complained?
they get upset.
Oh.
The listeners.
Like
Marge and Marie
Marge and Barb and
Kathy
Jim and I'm sorry.
Helene and Milton.
Well, we will try our. Oh, by the way, that big old hurricane just went through, didn't it? Did you hear about the people that think that all these hurricanes are manufactured now? That people, it's almost like
Marjorie Taylor Greene said that. I think.
Yeah,
thinks Kamala's controlling the weather to help her election ratings.
It's like a Lex Luthor thing from Superman. You have a superpower now. We are going to control the weather now. I mean, that is really far-fetched. Now, I'm not like a conspiracy guy, but I think there are certain levels of conspiracy, and that's crazy.
I would like to see Kamala shave her head in a Lex Luthor type of style and just really put the fear into the eyes of the voters. But she's probably a diva like Gene Hackman. Oh, I'm going to play Lex Luthor with my hair. Nobody's going to notice. Gene Hackman, we noticed.
Yeah. Well,
you really stand out like a sore thumb with a bunch of hair on it.
And he left, too. He's not in Hollywood anymore. Hollyweird. Now he's out there in New Mexico making paintings and
He's
stuff.
on many Poseidon adventures, just living his life.
Is it okay to bring my wife up now? Because, again, I don't
Was she at the storm in Hurricane Milton?
No, she wasn't.
Because they closed down Disney World. Did you hear about this?
I did hear about
the
that.
Hurricane Milton was so scary, they closed down Disney World on Wednesday, and then they kept it closed on Thursday, and 13 people died. There were people on the rides in the teacups, and they refused to get out, and they drowned to death.
You're kidding me.
I'm not
drowned
kidding.
in the teacups?
Right in the teacups.
Get out of here.
People had to, fly for their life. They got on the Aladdin ride, they got the Dumbo ride, and they're just sitting up there in the sky just waiting for the water to subside.
Was Mickey down there and going, hey, everybody, get out of the water?
Mm-hmm. And what they did was the rides, they filled them with Dippin' Dots, ice cream of the future, and that's what they're sustaining on.
Oh, and those Dippin' Dots, those are pretty cheap. I think each cup is $49.95 a piece or something.
And then when they melt, you're like, oh, that was just a cup of Kool-Aid.
Oh, don't worry, it's just money. Yeah, that's Mickey.
At the exact same time that the hurricane was blowing up Tropicana Field in Florida.
Right. Tropicana
Field, that's where the baseball happens.
What baseball?
The roof is not like a metal roof, it's a tarp. And the tarp blew off, so there was no friggin' roof on Tropicana Field.
So it's one of those reclining roofs. Those are expensive. I mean, to get that's what I thought the dome should always have. But you're saying the Mother Nature actually made them one?
Mm-hmm. And then the sister site over there in Las Vegas, the Tropicana Hotel,
yes,
it got blown up.
What a coincidence!
Exact same time. It was crazy that the storm surge was that wild. It went from the west coast of Vegas to the east coast of Florida.
So you're telling me that this could have all been manufactured. Maybe it was like Marjorie Taylor Greene said. Maybe the same hurricane that took down the what was the name?
Tropicana Field in Florida and the Tropicana Hotel in Vegas. They both got their roofs blown right off.
Yeah, I think that was a Bill Gates thing, if you ask me. It's just a little bit too close. What kind of conspiracies do you not, or what do you believe in?
I feel that JFK actually shot himself.
Yeah, I do too.
He was also on the hill and in the car at the same time.
Grassy knoll?
He was running back and forth, and then he collected the insurance money on himself.
I think you're exactly right. The same thing with Elvis, okay? Yeah, I mean, everybody says, I don't think he died. I don't think he did. And because if you're going to die, okay, I mean, you wouldn't die in a toilet, okay? Wouldn't you think of something really kind of flamboyant, oh, he was he burst into flames, running from gunfire, and got run over by a school bus. I mean, that's like big and bold. That's like Elvis. But you don't say that you died on a toilet, do you? So I think it's just so far-fetched that people say, well, it had to have happened because, he wouldn't have said that. And I think that he is actually still out there, okay? And I think that Elvis, okay, I think he actually is JFK.
And he was so into karate near the end of his life that I bet he would rather go out harikari style.
Exactly.
Harikari, where he would take a sword and seppuku himself right in the tum-tum, cut himself in half. It's not honorable to die on the toilet with peanut butter, jelly, banana, bacon sandwiches.
Well, he didn't want to. But they said, Elvis, that's the only way people are going to believe you. Really did. Oh, yeah, I don't know. And it's like, he keeled over on the toilet. Now, who is not going to believe that, right?
Oh, baby Priscilla, I wish Todd would bring up his wife. You can bring up her wife now.
Did you ever see those Naked Gun movies? Because Priscilla Presley was in those, and like Leslie Nielsen was
O.J. Simpson, he was a good one.
O.J. Simpson, yeah, he was in it. And everybody keeps walking by the window. We're in the Big Boy studio. I feel like I'm at the zoo. It's like, the zoo animals, they're behind the glass. That's like us here.
We were in the Jamie Allman studio 2 weeks ago, and you were the worst you've ever been. You couldn't focus.
I couldn't.
And now we're in the Big Boy studio, and there's a little sparkle in your eye. And I can see that it does matter about your surroundings. I think that's what they call feng shui.
Well, my wife says you're just being a diva. I go, I'm not being a diva. I said, look, I was just bent out of sorts in that other room.
Get bent.
They have like all these, like it's almost like you're in a massage room or something. They have like the mood lighting, and they have different like type of tapestry and curtains on the wall. I kept waiting for you to like whip open the be like Puff Daddy or whatever it is with the baby oil or something and start rubbing me down. I couldn't focus on that during that show.
Jamie Allman studio does set quite the mood, and you weren't ready for it.
Well, no, I felt like I was being kind of like mentally massaged. I didn't know what was happening. It was I felt abused. I felt like someone was taking advantage of me.
There were acupuncture needles actually in the chair, which I guess was why Jamie stands the whole time during his show. We sat down, felt the release of whatever toxins, and then boom, it affected our performance.
It did. Should we go back and just replay that show?
No, that was the worst show. That's the whole point. Let's make a good show starting now.
Okay.
How's the wife?
I got to tell you about the wife because this normally doesn't happen, and I don't make this stuff up because this is just too far-fetched to make up. Oh, he's coming, by the way, this weekend. We'll get to that next. Juice the dog, but I am all over the board. Anyway, I'm sitting it's Wordle time in the morning, okay? And each morning we start our day with our coffee and the Wordle just to
There
make
was
sure.
a triple stumper the other day.
It certainly was.
Lager? Did you get lager the other day?
It said something refreshing. We had to get like a hint, and it was like, something refreshing. I never thought that is
my
refreshing.
whole I don't play Wordle, but my whole family was crying their eyes out because everyone missed it that day.
Get out of here. Well, if you go to Tom's Guide, okay, we don't cheat, okay, but if we get down to the very last one,
we don't cheat, but
he gives you a hint, and so that was like something refreshing. So I guess we all had a hard time with that. But this. Are you ready for this? Mm-hmm. We're jumping right ahead to Christmas now because we're sitting there and my wife says this. She says, guess what? I know what I'm going to get you for Christmas.
Oh, Amazon Prime Day just happened. Maybe she saw a deal or two.
I wish she had because she said, we're going to go see Six at the Fox.
Oh, my. A musical no one's ever heard of.
That's what I said. Six. It's like the Jackson Five. No, it's six. It's about the 6 wives of Henry VIII. What?
It won some Tonys, the awards that no one memorizes who won from a year ago.
This is my Christmas present. And are they singing wives? Oh, yes, they sing. All 6 of the wives singing about being. And weren't their heads cut off? Well, didn't Henry VIII hack all of his wives' heads off? Anyway, I go, why is this my present? So my present from you it's Fox tickets for this Singing Wives show. I go, what kind of, so you know what I said? I said, the Dwarfenators, the wrestling midgets.
Yeah, they were down on Cherokee.
I said, that's what I'm going to get you for Christmas. If you're going to get me tickets to go see 6 Singing Wives at the Fox, which I have remotely no desire to see, I'm going to get you wrestling midget tickets, and then we can just swap, okay? Then you can give me yours, and I can have my, we can just do it that way, because why in the heck, would you want to go see 6 Singing Wives on stage?
No, I mean, I'm looking at the schedule right now, and the first one that pops up is the Neil Diamond musical, and that sounds a lot better than what you're about to see.
We looked into getting that. Get this, because...
Sweet Caroline.
Can you just be him? Because you know what tickets were going... My parents, we were going to get them tickets, okay, and we were going to go with them, but they were like $150 a piece. You know what I said? I said, look, I'll just go find Neil Diamond. I bet you for like $600 he'll come over at this point, because I mean, aren't they all in Branson now anyway? For $600, I could probably have him over at the house. All right, and then that way it'll be cheaper than paying $600 to go to the Fox, because I have to get ready to go watch Six anyway, because the Six Singing Wives is my Christmas present.
Neil Diamond, 83 years old, and he's looking rough.
Yeah,
Diamond is rough.
I tell you, I don't blame him. You want to hear something strange? Because my dad was in the Navy, okay, but we lived in Milton, Florida, okay, which was part of Pensacola, okay. So I'm wondering, I kept wondering, where did they get Milton from? Because we've talked about hurricane names before. They're usually, they sound like old lady names. Now, Milton sounds like an old man name, but it's also the town that I used to live in. Coincidence? I don't think so.
This new Saturday Night Live movie that comes out on Friday stars one of the characters, Milton Berle.
Really?
I think it is synergy. It's big Hollywood trying to control the weather, like you were saying earlier.
It is.
And it's just a big corporate tie-in.
So wait a minute. So
Saturday Night Live.
Milton Berle is the cause of this hurricane that destroyed the Tropicanas?
That's true.
This is The Right Mind Show. We'll be right back.
Coming up next on The Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter, corruption in Hawaii with Lorinc.
Are you like me and you like great books? Well, I found a place that has a lot of great books. A traditional publisher right up in Macon County, Deep Read Press. DeepReadPress.com, that's the website to find out exactly what they have. And again, they got traditional books. They are a traditional publisher. Deep Read Press does a lot of things that I particularly like, and most of them has to do with great books. So if you're looking for a publisher to publish, or if you're just looking for a place to find a lot of great books, it's Deep Read Press at DeepReadPress.com.
Welcome back to The Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter on NewsTalkSTL. And now a man who can turn any comedy club into a bomb shelter, Todd Schowalter.
And we're back. I'm Todd Schowalter along with my good buddy Joey V. And on the line now, straight from the Isles of Hawaii, is Lorinc. One of the things I wanted to ask you about, because you say you're a news reporter in Hawaii. Now, a lot of this stuff, there's a lot of speculation that's been going around, and we hear it over here on the mainland and all. I mean, it's all over the place, actually. But, I mean, going back to those wildfires that you had. Now, there are a lot of, stories going back and forth, and, some say, well, it was just a mistake. But others are saying that, well, there's more nefarious things that are involved. I mean, from your standpoint, actually being a resident and area reporter in Hawaii, were there any questionable things attached to those wildfires?
I do think that there are questionable things that are attached to that wildfire, but it's not dew lasers.
It's not what?
A gentleman. It's not dew lasers. It's incompetence, and it is also there was a sovereignty movement. There's a sovereignty movement here that's anti-American, where the CCP is funding it, the Hawaii Kingdom. And they don't like Americans. They have disclaimed that they are Americans. And this gentleman denied them water.
What was that last part? He what?
He denied them water. They
denied the
cut
water.
the water off and would not allow the victims to have water to help fight the fire. So this was a government orchestrated fire, because if they were not allowing water to put the fire out. And this is what they do in Hawaii. He publicly resigned.
Who did?
And they make a big, the gentleman that a part of the, I think he's with the Water Commission.
Okay, the person in charge of the water. Okay, all right.
Yeah, okay. He resigned, and they make a big public display of it. He resigned, and then the next day he was hired back. So he's still working at his job, and there haven't been any charges filed against him. That is manslaughter with grave indifference at the least.
Well, that's the first I've heard.
Attempted, yeah.
I
can send you all kinds of information on it.
Oh, no. And that's why I wanted to talk with you. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see it. But, I mean, so you're saying that they actually turned off the water to prevent, I mean, and that prevented them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and they never sounded any alarms. There were never any alarms. There was never any evacuation attempt. And a recent report that just came out that investigated it said that they did absolutely nothing to protect those residents. They did nothing.
Well, and one of the things I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, because, I get a lot of different things, some of it you're wondering how true it is. But, I mean, was it, from your standpoint, do you notice they said that FEMA was actually in town? I mean, they were actually there prior to the fire starting, and there was other stories about how the electric had been shut off, and there's a lot of different questionable things, and I don't know what's true and what's not, but this is what we're hearing. So, I mean, from your standpoint, I mean, were you aware of any of this? I mean, was FEMA actually there prior to the fires, and was electric actually shut off?
I actually received tips that said that FEMA was there and that it was fighting any help that was coming in, but I could never verify those news tips.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay.
I did receive it. I did receive, I guess, like 5 or 6 different news tips that did say that FEMA was there, and actually, if you were coming in to help, they were blocking people. And there was actually a news tip that came in that said that FEMA had fired upon.
Well, what has happened? What has happened since then? I mean, so you've had this area that's burned down in Hawaii from the wildfires. I mean, have they started reconstruction? And if they have, I mean, are they reconstructing for the people that are actually residents, the one that actually own their properties?
Just like everything in Hawaii, this is, we still have the monorail system here that was supposed to be 300,000 to build per mile, and so far we're up to like $1 billion a mile.
So nothing's happening.
The taxpayers' expense. Yeah, so nothing's really happening. They're fighting about it in court. Land rights are under attack in Hawaii. I mean, they want to be able to tell you that if you own a property and you decide that you want to live mainland for 6 or 7 months, that they're going to confiscate your property.
Why?
Because people need your property, and if you're not using it, you're being selfish. I mean, land rights are completely under attack, but I mean, you can just go look at some of if you Google real estate and the legislators here, they do not respect home ownership or investors that invest in land in Hawaii. They during like right now, the governor passes legislation all the time that if you have a tenant that's not paying, you have to go to the government to ask them if it's okay to evict them.
Some of the other things that you have in your article about a lot of the constitutional rights that have just gone right out the window. I mean, I'm surprised that, your representatives and things like that that are supposed to be, protecting the Constitution haven't stepped in. I mean, who's actually running the show over there at this point?
Xi in China.
Who is?
That's who's running it. Xi.
Huh. From China.
China. Yeah, China. This is China. China has threatened to arm the sovereignty kingdom movement here,
right,
on numerous times to our politicians over Taiwan.
And this is all going on in Hawaii.
Yeah, this is going on in Hawaii. The Hawaii Kingdom has hooked up with these people, the Sovereign Citizens Movement. They're a criminal movement. A matter of fact, in Florida, there was just a shootout because they're violent. The sovereignty movement here is violent. Sam Sloan, the Lone Ranger, who was a very strong conservative Republican that was in office for years here, would celebrate Statehood Day. His last Statehood Day attempt, these kingdom people that say that they want to bring back Hawaii Kingdom.
And Hawaii Kingdom is what the original Hawaii before it became a state. Is that what that is?
Yeah, they want to go back to 1890 something when it was a territory, and completely ignore that in 1950 that the residents of Hawaii voted almost unanimously to become a part of the United States.
Okay, so what you're saying is that basically you've got an area of Hawaii that's gaining support from the Chinese government, and they're saying that there are possibly arms involved, where they basically want to go back to how they originally were, but yeah, it's very questionable. We only have a few seconds left here, and you see you have a lot of this stuff documented. You have pictures, screenshots, and stuff.
Yes.
How can people check this out? Where can they go to find out more about you, your organization, and where all this stuff is right there in black and white, so to speak?
HIRA News, and it's www.hiranews.com.
HIRA News, HIRA News.com. And again, I mean, I got to tell you, I've never heard of any of this, and so it's kind of mind blowing. We have a lot of outside interest that kind of sway things here when it comes to getting propositions and things like that in place. But as far as China actually being involved with Hawaii, that's the first I'd heard about it. Wow. Well, it's not a great time to visit Hawaii, I guess, huh? Well,
they have two streets that they managed to keep up.
Right.
Halfway. Living in Hawaii right now is like living in a failed amusement park.
Okay.
You know, like how, like Disney.
Sure.
You know, they had that little village where they kind of like had their slave labor.
Yeah.
And then you would go into the park and they had their own little, they made it their own little island where they ran everything.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of like the same in Hawaii.
Wonderful. Well, without the teacups.
Same thing,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so you can come and there's 2 blocks where you can have a lot of fun.
Gotcha.
But other than that, I mean, the streets are run down. Hawaii manages to be the most highest. You pay the highest taxes.
Right.
And we are the worst at everything. And don't even get me started on the school system.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely look into some of this stuff, and we'll check out your site some more, and send people your way. They can look for you on Facebook or online. But hey, I want to thank you for joining me this morning. I know it's really early over there, so I appreciate that. But again, we'll stay in touch, and can't wait to hear more. And until next time, thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, take care. Have a good rest of your day.
Aloha.
Aloha.
You too. You too.
Well, what do you think of that, Joey? I mean, this is all quite, I'm flummoxed amongst it. I didn't realize that it was a state of corruption in Hawaii. It sounds like they're ready for a dang revolution.
It is Halloween time, and the theme park she described sounded really exciting to go to. I was going to go down to Soulard to the darkness, but if we could get a trip to Hawaii as journalists and just
which
check out this incredible 2 blocks of paradise, and then, investigate the Slave Island, too.
Slave Island?
I think we're not supposed to say that word, but she said it first. Could be fun. Be like ghost hunters or something.
Is this the first you've heard of this? I mean, I didn't realize we had Chinese spies and China's taking over, Aloha Land. Did you?
I did not know that. Pineapple Dole Whips. It is the food group, the main food group at Disney World. So I see how it's all coming together. And I do love the Polynesian Resort, one of my favorites.
Well, when we come back, we were talking about being a man. We're going to find out what it's like to be a real man with Elliot Katz. He's the author of a new book, Being the Strong Man a Woman Wants. Boy, I can't wait to hear about this. Can you?
I cannot. I want to be a man right now.
Well, we're going to find out with Elliot. And we will when we come back. And in the meantime, I'm Todd Schowalter, along with my good buddy Joey V. Mitch is not. I'm not going to bring him up. This is The Right Mind Show. We'll be right back.
Coming up next on The Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter, learning how to be men with Elliot Katz. Welcome back to The Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter on NewsTalkSTL. And now a man who isn't sick of being rained on, but he does feel under the weather, Todd Schowalter.
And we're back on Todd Schowalter, along with my good buddy Joey V. And on the line now, we're going to learn how to be a man, because we got Elliot Katz. He's the author of a book called Being the Strong Man a Woman Wants, along with some other books. Hey, how's it going, Elliot? I can't wait to become a man.
Great.
How are So
well,
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that today the problem with a lot of men is that we hear all these messages about, be sensitive, don't be toxic, don't be controlling, develop your feminine side, be vulnerable. And so men are very confused, and they think, well, I don't want to be toxic or controlling, so I'm just going to let my wife make all the decisions. And if I just go along with her and everything, then she should be happy. And they don't understand why today's women are so fed up with them. And these ideas are really, damaging relationships, because men want to be good husbands and fathers, and they're following all these messages that are just not helpful. They're just hurting their relationships.
Yeah, and I think it's put out by, the media and stuff. You've got a lot of, the left wing and, people out there. They push this narrative about sensitivity and all this. And I hate to use the word wimp, but I really think a lot of guys have just turned into wimps. And I think, like you said, a guy is a guy. I mean, that's why we're guys, and what's so wrong with that? I mean, I'll give you an example. I have a shirt that I saw in my store. It says toxically masculine, okay? And that's a joke, but I wear that and people get upset about it. But hey, what's wrong? And why can't we be guys?
Well, to be a guy, toxic, it's a sensitive issue, but men really need to be strong and show leadership. And that's what women really want. They want a man who can take charge. And there's a problem, there's a situation. They don't just say to the woman, oh, what do you think we should do? Oh, whatever you want, you decide. Oh, they hate men who say that.
Right.
So they like a man who's strong and take charge. And yet men think, well, I'm showing I believe in gender equality. I'll let her deal with it. No good. You're damaging your relationship. It's really not good. And, even on a date, I talk to singles groups, and I say, well, how many women here have had a guy call them, ask them out, and then when she says yes, then she says, what do you have in mind? Oh, I don't know. What do you want to do? I said, you're just blowing it right there.
Yeah.
You can't come empty-handed. At least have an idea what you propose. And then if she says, well, yeah, okay, let's do it. Usually she should, but let's say you ask her to go to a movie. She says, well, I've seen it, but how about we go to this other movie? Don't come empty-handed. Be a man with a plan, because if you can't even do that, she's going to wonder, how would you handle the challenges of marriage and family life?
Well, yeah, and that's why, I from the get-go, I bought my wife power tools. That was her first, gift. No, I didn't really do that. But well, you're right, though, because one of the things you have to actually, take a little bit of command and decide take the upper hand. Don't always, just like you said, whatever you want to do. And the same thing goes with dinner and things like that. What do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you want to eat? Now, I've been married 31 years, okay? So you kind of have that give and take. But after a while, still, it would be nice just to say, well, you know what? I want this or I want that. But yeah, you do. You have that back and forth. But on the other side, people that are single, I know some people, that are older that still do that. And I don't think, and I would say you didn't grow up that way. Is this just something that guys are conditioned into doing?
Well, it's really that men have to be taught how to be a strong man. And they need a father as a role model or other older male role model. That's sort of part of my mission, is to educate men. Say, hey, if you understand what it means to be a strong man, you have to teach other men. And one of the examples I often take is what you said, but, if a wife calls her husband at work, what would you like for supper, chicken or fish? And he says, whatever you make will be good. Why is she calling me at work? She's calling you at work because she wants you to decide. It makes her feel safe and protected. One thing I coach men about is how, they'll say, oh, she wants me to make all these decisions. Decisions don't matter to me. Whatever you want, either way is fine. I said, doesn't matter. She wants you to make the decision, and make the decision. And I coach men, and they'll say to me, I've been doing that. The woman says to me, you make me feel safe and protected when you do that. That's what you want.
Well, in my situation, sometimes I'll say, well, I think we're going to do this. I think I want to build a tree house instead of a patio. There is no way you're going to do that. So, what about the wife that, she comes back? Sometimes, does she just want to tell you that you're wrong and you're not going to get your way?
Well, that's a great question. So sometimes what she's doing is trying to help you. Say, well, a treehouse isn't such a great idea. Maybe a patio would be better for our children. But other times, maybe she's just testing you to see if you're going to stand up to her, because she really wants a man who can stand up to her, because it shows you will stand up for her and she will feel safe and protected. Maybe she's just testing you.
I'm going to use that. So I'm going to say, hey, sweetheart, I think you really want that treehouse. You're just testing me. I'm going to let you know if I get this treehouse, Ellie, because it's going to be really cool. It's going to have power tools and all kinds of neat stuff. Well, when you were actually researching this book, I mean, you've written other books too. I mean, a lot of it
right.
you were mentioning, because we were talking a little bit back and forth. You were corresponding how common sense kind of falls into a lot of this. I mean, what's happened to common sense? I mean, it's pretty much gone out the window along with guys being guys. What do you think is the real catalyst of all this? When did this all start, and how are we going to put an end to it?
Well, it's a good question. How did it all start? It's because it started when men aren't teaching younger boys and younger men what it means to be a man. We have all this idea today. Well, let him choose his gender. Let him learn on his own what it means to be a man. Well, if you're a father, you're failing your son, because it's your job to teach him what it means to be a man, what it means to get along with other men, what it means to how to treat a woman, how to treat a wife. It's your job to teach them. And men today aren't doing that because they think, I be sensitive, all this stuff. Don't be controlling. So men are really confused about what it means to be a man. And like I said earlier, they hear all these messages, don't be controlling, don't be toxic. So they really think they're playing it safe. Oh, I'll just let her make. I've met so many guys who just say, I'll just play it safe. I'll let her make all the decisions. I'll just do what she wants. Then she should be happy, but then she's not happy. And in the United States, 70% of divorces are initiated by women, and that should be a message to us. It's like, what are we doing that is making all these women so fed up with us? Because a lot of divorced men that I've met, they're good guys. They really tried their best.
Mm-hmm. Well,
they worked hard.
You brought up a good point with the fatherhood stuff, because, I mean, we live in a time where we do have a lot of single moms, and so we have kids growing up without dads. We see that in a lot of different communities. I don't think it really discriminates. You have rich communities, poor communities, and I think really you're right. It does. I think that has a huge. I mean, not so much on. I mean, well, it does as far as your relationship with your wife, but it has a huge impact on the children. Now, do you think the fact that you've got a lot of guys that just aren't being strong, masculine men anymore? How do you think that affects their kids? Because when I grew up, my dad was the authority figure. I mean, he was strong. He was a military guy. Initially. I mean, so you look up to people like that. How are these kids dealing with dads that have been kind of wimped down, so to speak?
Well, they're totally confused about what it means to be a man. I coach men, and so many of the men who are divorced, when I teach them about the importance of showing leadership and making decisions and taking responsibility, like don't give into something that's wrong, then blame your wife. Just don't give it, and if it's wrong. And so many men will say to me, I didn't know this. If I had known this when I was married, I probably wouldn't be divorced. And I've had women say the same thing. If my husband had known this, our marriage would not have disintegrated. It's sad. So my mission is we got to educate men, be a strong man, take charge, be a leader. That's what your wife really wants. She wants to feel safe and protected. She doesn't want to have to tell you all the time. She just want to be your mother.
Yeah, sure.
She wants you to be the man in her life.
Well, I don't want to get too political here, but if you notice, most of these, and this is maybe a generalization, but when you look at kind of like the wimpy, feminine male, for the most part, a lot of them are very liberal. Okay, you don't see a lot of conservative guys, with traditional values and stuff that are wimpy guys. I mean, so is the divorce rate actually higher with liberals than it is conservatives?
It's a good question. That I really don't know. I think most of the guys that I deal with started out liberal, but have become more conservative when they realize, all these ideas, they don't work. Like they think, well, I'm just being this great guy. Why is she so fed up with me? I just do whatever she wants. She should be happy. She really wants a man. And you know what? In today's world, women are successful in business and professions.
Right.
We may even have a woman president of the United States. But when a woman, I've had lots of women say this, but when I'm with a man, I want to feel like a woman. I want him to take charge. I want him to make me feel safe and protected.
Well,
that's what your job is.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And one of the things that, it's really, it's right out there in the open. it's hard. I mean, just based on what the media and the narrative and everything puts out. I mean, if you're a white male, okay, I mean, you're kind of like the most. I mean, you talk about that. You're open game. I mean, it just seems like you can take. You'll take as many shots as people throw at you. Why do you think that is? I mean, are people just? Is it a matter of fear? I mean, are they afraid of a strong white male? I mean, you don't even use white. Say a strong male. I mean, it just seems that seems to be more prevalent right now. Is it like a fear type of situation?
Well, I think it's just uncertain. So I think, like, I get men saying to me, "Oh, we hear the feminist movement say this and women saying that on the media." I said, you know what? When you're strong and you know what it means to be a man, and you say you don't listen to all this stuff, you don't let that affect you. So I know that if I'm the man here, I sit at the head of the table. I'm responsible. It's not power, it's responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I'm responsible for my wife and my children. It's not like, oh, I did what she wanted, so don't blame me. No, you are responsible. And when you know that, when you have a clarity about what it means to be a man, then all this other stuff doesn't bother you. You just ignore it. It's like anybody could be saying anything. I know what it means to be a man. I teach other men, and they see a dramatic improvement in their relationships. A lot of them are divorced, and so their new relationships with a girlfriend say, wow, this is so much better. She respects me. And so when you're certain this is what it means to be a man, see, for others that haven't learned, they're just not sure. Oh, well, maybe, I remember coaching one fella. He says his wife is divorcing him because he always talks about his feelings. And he says, well, if I get a new girlfriend, she'll want to hear my feelings. I said, don't talk about your feelings.
Yeah.
That's what you heard. Don't talk about once a month you can talk about your feelings. Because that's what men have heard. Oh, I'm supposed to talk about my feelings. Well, occasionally.
Yeah.
But you come home every day saying, oh, I had such a terrible day. This happened, that happened. And you start crying. Like, you think she's going to respect you? She wants to feel safe and protected.
Yeah, and
if
respect.
You come across
You're right.
Weak.
Yeah, I was going to say respect is the big thing. I mean, I think, women want to be able to respect their spouse or their boyfriend or whatever. I mean, but what I was going to go to next was you don't really it's rather one-sided, don't you think? It's like, you got to tell men to be men, but as a guy with a woman, I mean, I like the fact that my wife is feminine. Okay, I don't think we ever went through a phase where like, oh wow, women need to be like real strong and masculine and stuff. I wouldn't be attracted to that. So I mean, it makes sense that a woman wouldn't be as attracted or turned on, so to speak, by a wimpy person as she would a strong person. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely, but the message we hear in the media is like, be vulnerable. I was coaching one guy. He says, I'm supposed to be vulnerable. So he's divorced. So when I go out on a date, I tell her how I'm not really earning a living and how I got screwed in my divorce and all these bad things that happened to me. He says, and then they don't want to go out with me again. I said, stop being vulnerable. Be a man. Show that you're strong. Tell her how you overcame challenges and all the things you learned from the divorce. That's what she wants. But the thing is, it's the messages we hear in the media. Like men, we have to teach men to be strong. That's my mission. Learn to be a strong man who shows leadership, takes charge, is decisive, can make a decision. It's not about being a tyrant. Make a decision. If she disagrees with you, well, listen to her. Maybe she's got a point of view, but don't just say, oh, whatever you want, you decide. Don't come empty-handed into this. Be a man.
What do you think about our kids, though? I mean, because right now, I mean, I don't know how old you are. I mean, when I grew up, you were encouraged to do guy things, boy things. We, cowboys and Indians. We had our guns, our cap guns and stuff like that. We had our, our play weapons. We did, kid stuff, boy toys and stuff like that. I don't think you can buy, cowboy and Indian stuff anymore. I mean, it's almost as if we're taking the masculinity out of our young kids' lives. Do you think we're going to have a whole generation of wimpy men?
That's my fear. We hear on the media like, oh, if you have a boy, don't influence him with male ideas. Like, let him just decide what he wants to be.
Yeah,
but you're failing as a parent because, your job as a parent is a father teach your son how to be a man, and then then he could decide. But let him make an informed decision. But teach him what it means to be a man. It's so many guys I coach will say, "Oh, nobody ever taught me this before. Why didn't anybody teach me this?" My father was just so passive. He just gave in to everything my mother wanted, and now my wife is fed up with me because I'm doing the same thing. We have to teach men. Men need to learn. See, that's the thing. I think women, it comes naturally to them, but for men, they have to be taught by a father or other male role model, and or reading books. Because like when I wrote my book, there's a lot of wisdom written over the years about take responsibility, be a man, take charge.
Yeah, and
that's what we have to teach them, and I that's my goal, is to change the world and change the men of America.
Yeah, and I think you got to be proud of it too. I'm proud to be a guy, and I like doing guy things. And I like being a guy, and I like football, and getting scruffed up, whatever. I mean, it's like that's part of who we are, And so I'm not going to make any excuses for it. And I think it's kind of ludicrous that we even got to this point. I mean, I think going back, with the '60s and a lot of stuff, you had all the a lot of that kind of culture with the feminism and stuff, and guys were, I think that's where a lot of it really took off, so to speak. But there is nothing wrong with being a guy. There's anything wrong with being a feminine, beautiful woman. I mean, and so me personally, I mean, I anytime that narrative even comes up, I put on my toxically masculine shirt and make everybody mad. Which, by the way, I'll get you one if you'd like. But let me ask you this before we break. Say you had 3 top tips. I mean, because you've written this book along with some other books that we'll let everybody know how they can get. But if you had 3 top tips, what would they be, and how a guy could be a better guy?
The first thing is show leadership, take charge. I just talking to a woman. She says when they're in a difficult situation, if the man steps forward and takes charge, she says it's really sexy. Mm-hmm. Be a man, take charge. Don't step back, step forward. Another thing, be decisive. Make decisions. If you ask to make a decision, make a decision. Don't just say whatever you want, you decide. And the third thing is take responsibility. Don't, so many men, they say, I gave into this, I gave into that, and then it was a disaster, just like I thought it was, and they start blaming their wives. I said, you're not going to get anywhere with that. You shouldn't have given in the first place, because you are responsible. If you get into like financial stress because you gave into something your wife wants and you start blaming her, it's your job to say no. And if she starts screaming or crying or whatever, it doesn't matter. If you can't afford it, that doesn't change it. So don't blame her, because you are responsible. And think about when you hear a man complaining about his wife doing this or that, you say, well, you're the man here. Why did you let it go on?
Sure.
Because everybody expects the man to take responsibility. So those are the 3 things. Show leadership and take charge. Make decisions.
Yeah, that's I tell you what.
Responsibility.
On this Saturday night now, when this airs, right after the show's over, I'm going to tell my wife we're going to go get chicken wings. We're going home, and you're going to give me a back rub. And I'm going to say, and if it doesn't fly, I'm going to say, well, Elliot, my new buddy, said it would. Okay, so you're in charge here for me, buddy. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Tell me how it goes.
Yeah, I certainly will. Well, how can people get your book? How can they find out more about you? Because again, you've written more than one book. How can they find out more about this particular one and where they can get more?
Okay, so this book, Being the Strong Man a Woman Wants, Timeless Wisdom for Men on How to Improve Your Relationship. It's available from Amazon as an ebook, paperback, and an audio book. I have another book called, which I wrote for women. Mm-hmm. Women would read this book and say, well, how do I get my man to start taking charge? So I said, this new book is called How to Get Your Man to Wear the Pants So You Don't Have to. Mm. And that's also on Amazon. And if people want to contact me, my website is www.elliotkatz.com. It's ELLIOTTKATZ.com. And my email is ELLIOTTRKATZ@AOL.com. And if you email me, I'll be happy to send you some sample chapters of the book so you could see what this is all about and how it can improve your life.
Well,
and tell you all the things your father should have taught you.
That's exactly right. Be a man, dang it. Yeah, well, I really appreciate it, and I want to talk to you some more, in the future about all these other great topics that you have. But I'm just happy, along with these other ways of contacting you, that I actually have your personal phone number, because I'm going to be calling you whenever I'm in trouble with my wife, okay?
Okay, absolutely, Todd. Call me.
Well, yeah, I will. Okay, I'll probably be calling you in a few minutes here, okay? So stay by the phone.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for joining me, my friend. I appreciate it.
Okay, great. Thanks for having me.
We'll do it again. That's Elliot Katz with us here. I mean, that was quite important. Are you a man, Joey? You are a man. I know that. We've all gone out with our ladies, so to speak, and I think the reason that our ladies had such a great time is because you and I were men. We started wrestling right there on the floor, and you punched me in the eye, and I bit you really hard. I think that really impressed them, don't you?
We really should have talked to Elliot before we took our photo. I don't know if you remember from an hour ago, but we went outside. And we dressed up as a couple of rakes, guys with loose morals that just get around, no sexual restraint, indulge in vices, and have amazingly manicured yards.
Oh, yeah.
Wait till people see this picture. Just a couple of rakes just sitting there in Menards bags, just trying not to fall over because our sacks are so big.
Our sacks are hanging, baby. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I tell you, the thing is, I always look forward to these days because you surprise me with what our photo is going to be. I mean, you're like a genius art director. You say, we've got and you always, but here lately, I don't know if you've noticed, we always get like a random female that wants to be in the picture with us. Have you noticed that? Now, is that something that you've actually orchestrated, or is that all just random?
I think that's something we're exuding. I think there's a pheromone up in the air when the Todd and Joey chemistry get together, and
men.
Ladies just come running.
I'm a man. Are you a man?
Of course I'm a man, and Elliot...
I'm a manly man is what I am.
I think we could add a few chapters to his book, or at least a blurb on the back. I'll blurb anywhere.
We could do that, Joey. We could have a whole chapter in Elliot's the next book, the sequel, How to Be Men Like Joey and Todd. What do you say? That could be a real winner, don't you think? I've had a good time today. I don't know about these spies in Hawaii, but besides that, it's been very informative. Have you had a good time?
I have had a good time. It's still spooky season, as they say. Will you go to an escape room with me and your mom?
Well, I don't know. My mom did go to one, and I told you she wasn't too impressed.
They locked the doors on her.
I can't get out of here. Oh, where's the toilet paper? It's I think it was something like that. I have never been to an escape room. Now, you're going to an escape room.
I love the one downtown in Soulard,
right?
Because that's a haunted house. Like
Do they shoot at you?
It's one of the best haunted houses in the country, The Darkness. And then they also put all that effort into creating really deep and thoughtful escape rooms. And they're so fun. Like there's one that was Indiana Jones themed, and the entire floor was covered in sand. Can you imagine what it would be like? And it's on the second floor. It's not like they could just back it up and dump truck the sand into the window. They had to carry it upstairs and stuff. I appreciate that thought. I've been to some really bad escape rooms.
Right.
They're just in strip malls, and they say, pretend you're in a jail and you got to get out. And you can see the drop ceiling up top and the carpet from the real estate office that used to be in this abandoned building.
Yeah, I guess the last time I was in an escape room, I was just banging on the doors and I was screaming because I couldn't get out. And I was actually in a dressing room at Kohl's, okay, but I didn't I couldn't get out. I could not get out. And I was like surrounded by other people's clothes and hangers and those dang little stick pins that kept sticking me and stuff. And I was screaming, not screaming like a little girl, I must say, screaming like a man. And but I finally was able to get out of there. Are they more difficult than that?
With some of these escape rooms, when they start out, they're very in-depth and it's immersive. And then the more stupid people that go through it, the more they have to put in signs that say, don't pee in this corner. Just raise your hand and we'll unlock the door. Or please do not tip this entire bookshelf over, seeing if there's a clue underneath. So it kind of takes you out of it once enough stupid people go through these things.
Well, you know where the stupid people go, and you just reminded me to bring something up here. I think you well know that whenever I really want to show my wife a good time, what do? We go to the dollar store, don't we?
Thrift store, dollar store, doesn't matter if it's used.
Well, dollar store if I'm going to get her something new for $1.25.
Still in the package.
Yeah, it's got to be in a package. But now you know what they have at the dollar store? They've got these self-checkouts. And I think at the dollar store, okay, so they let you self-checkout. And I think they're like magnets for like stupid people, because you would think that these people are trying to operate heavy machinery just to check out. But on top of that, go check this out. They have a poor woman, or sometimes a guy, that has to sit there on a stool all day long and watch the people do the self-checkout at the dollar store. I cannot think of a worse job than that.
It's been a big scam. Big self-checkout convinced all these stores that, it saves so much money if you have one babysitter for 10 registers.
Yeah.
And then they realize, everyone's just buying one trash can and filling it with 1,000 pounds of socks and undies and jewelry and walking right out, and no one's going to stop them.
You told my
I
secret.
went to Walmart the other day.
Yeah.
They got rid of all the self-checkouts. No longer there. It's nice to see a friendly face.
Yeah, well, she wasn't doing anything. She was just sitting there looking at the back of people. I think she was comatose, but I would be too. If you're just like watching everybody at the dollar store check out. Yeah,
Well, watch the dollar store. See if they revert back. I think they're going to get rid of it soon.
Well,
If Walmart is the leader in what's possible in a retail situation, I know it's going to trickle down, and it's going to go back to the old conveyor belt, one person, one lane.
Good times. I got to go, though, because I got to go be a man. I'm going to be a man. You want to go be a man with me?
Yeah, let's go skip together, arm in arm, and be men.
Well, I'll kiss you on the cheek when we get to the corner, too. That'll be really nice, won't it? You had a good time today?
I had a wonderful time.
All right, well, let's get out of here and do manly things as we're skipping down the street. Well, like I always say, you've been listening to The Right Mind Show, and if you don't have a right mind, you don't have a mind at all. Until next time, this is Todd Schowalter along with my good buddy, bestest buddy, Joey V. We'll see you.
Thanks for tuning in to The Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter. To find out about all things Todd, go to StudioTodd.com. We will see you next Saturday night at 5 p.m. right here on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL, and always streaming online at NewsTalkSTL.com.